What's up, bosses? Welcome to About Her Business, the podcast where we leave all the gossip at the door and get straight down to business. I'm your host, Ginca, and today we have the founder of Girl You Are Worthy, Miss Ginca Love. Now, Miss Love is a self-worth coach who teaches women how to stop playing small and start having the audacity to go after what they want in life. She's also the founder of the Audacity Code, and she's breaking all the rules today on what she means business. So, ladies, grab those cups and those notepads, and let's get down to it. The meeting is now in session. Welcome, Miss Love.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Are you ready to get into today's conversation?
Hey, let's get into it.
Let's go. So take us back to before Girl You Are Worthy. What was life and business looking like for you during that time while you were still navigating your own struggles with self-worth?
So I've always had a passion for teaching, speaking, and for helping people be better today than they were yesterday. And I started and stopped at times, but it's always been something that I've been passionate about. I'm active duty military, financial issues that come with being a single parent, trying to make things happen. This is what I'm passionate about, and this is what I'm going to make happen. And I did it in the most audacious way. I basically was like, hey, I'm going to host a retreat for 16 women who are ready to take their life to the next level. And I'm just going to go all in on this business. So for me, this has been a journey, and I'm learning every day that, this requires a different level of showing up for yourself, even when you don't feel like it, even just being a single parent, like you have to find a way to navigate that. And I feel like your own issues with self-worth also travel into your business, and that's something else that you have to be careful about. So if you think small in your personal life, you will find yourself thinking small when it comes to your business, but you have to work through that.
Absolutely. And you hit on that major key point of mindset shifts, especially when you're becoming an entrepreneur. And thank you so much for your service with our U.S. military, because that's a whole nother level of discipline. And then you added that other layer of being a parent, which we all know that's patience and discipline and literally changing your whole narrative when it comes to life. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, so I've always been into motivational speaking, but I feel like it really hit me when I was diagnosed with PTSD in 2015. I kind of got to this point where I realized that people who perpetrate violence, people who victimize others, they want you to be quiet. They want you to not share your story because that's how they're able to continue and pretend like they're not who they really are. And I was like, no, I want my voice to be heard, not only so that we can call out the people who need to be called out, but also because there's other people who are going through what I'm going through. And they need to know that they're not alone and that they can make it through. It's like sometimes I get memories and they're like words that I posted a long time ago. When they come back, I'm like, dang, that was good, girl. You cooked on that. Or it might be relevant to where I am now. So it's like I was talking to my future self. But I realized it could become a business. I'm not affiliated or endorsed by the Air Force or the military because I don't want any confusion. But I will say, when I thought about what do I want my life to look like when this is all said and done? So for me, I would love to be out there serving people on a daily basis, whether through coaching, events, things of that nature. And I know there's women that want it because anytime I go out, I wear my Girl You Are Worthy shirt. Everybody is always like, oh, I love that shirt. That is so cute. Where did you get that from? Because people need to hear this message. And sometimes those 4 simple words can make a major shift and impact in somebody's life.
And I just absolutely love the name of your company. It literally stands alone. It speaks for itself. Girl, you are worthy. Speaking of you are worthy, let's get into it. Let's talk about when you first stepped into the building. What did you have to unlearn about worth, visibility, and even charging for your work?
I feel like what I've had to learn is that your self-worth goes with you everywhere you go. How you feel about yourself travels with you everywhere you go. So if you are afraid of putting yourself out there, if you're afraid of charging what you're worth, if you don't think you belong in the room, it's going to show up in your business. And it's super important that you first work on that foundation of self so that you can show up in your business, get that visibility. Because nobody starts a business because they think it's just a good idea. Like, we all want to connect with people who are interested in what we have to offer. And so for me, I'm a perfectionist. I like things to be a certain way, and I want to deliver value, but I want to deliver in a way, especially because I'm dealing with women. Women like to see cute things. So for me, I'm about providing value, and I've been a perfectionist, but that is what caused me to be inconsistent in the past. And so for this year, it's been all about action. I am going all in on what I'm passionate about, and I'm not allowing perfectionism to keep me from really showing up in a way that I need to show up. So the other thing is, I created my coaching program, the Audacity Code, because I feel like once you have that self-worth, it's all about having the audacity to put yourself out there and be visible. It's just like me today. I'm here because I reached out to several podcasts and said, hey, like, I had this new business I just started. I would love to be on your podcast to talk about it and deliver value. Some people are waiting for people to reach out to them. Don't be that person. You want to be that person that seeks opportunities and creates the motion that you want to see in the world. So that's how self-worth shows up. And also, when it comes to charging your worth, here's one thing that got me at first. I would go into ChatGPT or some platform and I would ask, hey, what should I be charging for my course? And then I see the price and I'm like, you think people are going to pay that? I'm really asking ChatGPT, you think people are going to pay this for this course that I came up with? But then you have to remind yourself, if what I'm building is of value, people are going to pay it because they want that value. And I think that's super important for us to remember, that we are bringing something valuable to the table.
Absolutely. Great point of knowing your worth, especially when it comes down to charging, because I can't tell you how many entrepreneurs have lost out on funds just by not charging what they were worth and ended up burning out and quitting just because they felt they were worthless. And a lot of people think that confidence equals perfection, which is another thing that you hit on. Confidence does not necessarily mean you're perfecting everything. It just means that you have the self-worth within self to believe, actually start something. But I remember when I started Healing Through Chaos a year ago, I thought I had to have the sound bites. I thought I had to have a microphone. I thought I had to have the right softwares. And look at me right now. I don't have a microphone, a headset, nothing. And it was through that trial and error of just going through all of that. And y'all don't understand what goes into being a podcaster, because if you are investing in hooking everything up, making sure everything is on at the same time. And I ended up trying to record a podcast and had no sound because I was too busy worried about the microphone was plugged up. So learning that now I don't use a mic at all or a headset. So I love how you put that. You don't have to be perfect when you start. Just start, y'all.
Yeah, I agree. Because I will be honest with you. I was going to start a podcast. I have all these mics. I was going to start a YouTube video a long time ago. So it's not about the stuff. And that's what I learned when I was attending a retreat this March. And it's basically a retreat for people who are hosting a retreat at that location. Come hosting the Girl You Are Worthy luxury retreat next October. Shameless. So what I've learned is I created all these systems and websites because I want it to be like flawless. You sign up, you pay your deposit, payment happens, like everything just flows. I created a whole retreat guidebook that says what to expect when you arrive. Like, everything needed to be laid out and perfect before I started. And I get to this retreat and there's people who hosted over 200 retreats and they have no systems. They're like, some of them have systems, some of them have like pieces of a system. Someone just like, hey, give me your money if you want to come. So, and I'm like, yeah. And it's not a bad thing to want to be organized and have things a certain way, but we can't let that stop us. Sometimes you just have to start. You just have to put yourself out there, and you have to know that with time, you're going to build those reps to get to where you want. And that's the most important part.
Absolutely. I know y'all heard her say retreat, and we're going to definitely get to that in today's episode. So stick around because we got some things coming up with Miss Love here. So you've been talking about self-worth, and a lot of women especially struggle with self-worth. How does that realistically show up in the way they run or avoid running a business rather?
I feel like when you struggle with self-worth, you don't show up the way that you would like to. We all have this big grand vision of what we want things to be, but we don't realize that we take, like I said before, you take yourself with you. And so if you want to have a business where you're going to be successful and you're going to be thriving and making that impact, 'cause every business has some kind of impact. Even if you bake cookies, you make people happy, or you provide a gift service, people are happy. Like whatever you do, your podcast, I'm happy to listen to it because I'm learning more and more about business, because I feel like that's an important part. But if you don't value yourself at that level, you're not going to thrive in your business the way you want to. Just like I'm going to go to the podcast summit in July. I'm going because I want to be featured on more podcasts and I'm putting myself out there, right? So if you're not charging what you're worth, if you're not seeking opportunities, if you're not making connections with people, if you're not putting yourself out there, I want you to ask yourself why. And and I seriously would like you to pause, whoever's listening to this right now, and ask yourself, why am I not seeking opportunities? Why am I not taking the next step? What is holding me back? What do I believe about myself that makes me think I'm not worth whatever I should be charging? Because that part right there, that answer to that question, that is when you start to work on that, that is what's going to make things start to grow in 10x. And you're going to be like, dang, I never thought I would be in the position I am right now. I've had, I noticed even in myself that I didn't know I had limiting beliefs around money. And like actually, because I could put myself out there all day, but if you don't have that belief that people are going to be interested at what the level that you're charging, then you're not going to go out there and get what you deserve. And one thing I also feel like is if you don't validate yourself in that and not seek outside validation, you're not going to get there either, because people are going to impose their doubts on you and they're going to make you think that what you're offering is not worth it, or maybe it's not the right time. When I decided to host a retreat, people said, why would you do that? Like, what if you don't get 16 women to show up? What if you come on the hook for tens of thousands of dollars right now to make this happen? So people are like, what if it doesn't happen? I'm like, God gave me a vision and it's not for them to see. So I can't let other people plant seeds of doubt in my mind. I have to just go all in and go for it.
Absolutely. And I struggled with that external validation as well. And I think that a lot of people, male and female, go through that of seeking that external validation in order to feel of worth, when in reality all your worth is within self. So I mean, you can go out there and ask a million people to invest in you, but if you don't believe in you, you're gonna get a million no's. So, I mean, that literally is just how it goes, y'all. You got to have that confidence within self. And you also hit on a major event that is coming up, which is that podcast summit taking place in Atlanta, right?
Yep.
First,
July 2nd and 3rd.
yeah, I know a lot of people gonna say that's Essence Festival weekend, but if you're a podcaster, I'm encouraging you to head over to Atlanta, and they've been advertising. They're gonna have quite a few podcasters on there, and they gain a great audience. So if you're looking to network and get yourself out there, definitely try to attend that summit. Or if you're thinking about starting a podcast, or as Ms. Love just said, being a guest on podcasts, definitely
Yep.
that summit, because
Seeking those opportunities.
there you go. Gave y'all one place that you can go. So by now, you also speak about unworthlessness. So that's another place where people struggle with, because you don't feel like you're worthy of being an entrepreneur. You don't feel like you're worthy of starting a business or creating a community. How does that mindset impact pricing, opportunities, and even the rooms women allow themselves to enter?
Well, I feel like what you believe in yourself is super important. And I think it can show up like imposter syndrome. You'll think that I don't belong in this room. And most people, this is, as I've built this business, sometimes I'm asking myself, I'm like, do people really care about self-worth? They don't really care about that term, but they care about how they show up. And I feel like the way your low self-worth shows up is in ways that you might not think about. That's why I said, ask yourself that question. What do I believe about myself that is keeping me from really getting to where I want to? So if you think maybe I don't belong here, or maybe like I've been applying for events to host activations at events and things of that nature. Some of these events are really big. And there's people who are actively getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to speak and do things of that nature, applying for these events. But I'm applying too, because I'm bringing value too, right? I'm not saying, oh, I'm not there yet. Sometimes you just have to take the first step, like we talked about. So you're not going to pursue opportunities like you normally would if you feel like you don't belong in a room. Because not only do you belong in the room, you also have the ability to create rooms for yourself. So I'm not waiting for somebody to give me a speaking opportunity. I'm creating events where I speak and people show up, because that's the way you have to be. When, if you really want that motion you want to see, you have to put yourself out there. And so I feel like if you don't address the elephant in the room, you're going to find yourself still in the same place. And a lot of businesses fail because they're waiting on other people to come to them. You have to go to the people.
Absolutely.
And I'm saying this as somebody who's just starting a business, but it's what I've known throughout anything I've done. I teach a lot of classes through the military on resiliency, on sexual assault prevention, things of that nature. And I feel like people are always like, why can't we get people to show up to our events? You need to go to the people, go to where they are, reach out to people, post something. Hey, is anybody interested in it? What I've learned is a lot of times we ask ourselves, like, why are people not showing up? And we're waiting for, a lot of times we expect family and friends to show up, and they're not even the people that show up. It's the people we least expect. But you have to keep putting yourself out there and seek those opportunities, and just know that you are deserving of that. You're not an imposter. God gave you a gift. You need to walk fully into it and give it all of your energy. You are worth giving yourself and what you're passionate about, all of your energy. Because showing up, I saw a post somebody posted today about, hey, I just posted my first podcast episode in 3 months. She said, everybody clap for me. I'm clapping for you, sis. But the other thing I'm going to say is, because women, when we're being real with each other, we can't just congratulate you when you do something. Hey, when are you going to show up again? And how are you going to make sure that you show up consistently? Because you said this was important to you, right? So if you my friend, that's what I'm going to say, because that's how I treat my friends. I keep it real and I hold them accountable just like I expect them to hold me accountable. But I feel like when you don't feel worthy, like I said, you see yourself as that $2 bottle of water versus that $6 bottle of water that we pay for in the airport. You're like, who's paying for that? People are paying for it. You just have to see yourself as somebody who's worth making that amount of money. But also, when you feel unworthy, you're easily convinced. You let one disappointment, one rejection keep you from achieving what you should achieve in life and what you want to achieve. And you have to get comfortable saying, I'm not saying, but hearing no. You're going to hear no. If you are listening to anything I have to say and you put yourself out there several times on different platforms and reaching out to different people, you're going to hear no a whole lot. And you have to get comfortable with that, because the no's is what gets us to the yeses. But also be emboldened enough to say, hey, so you said no. What can I do better? What can I change? Or what didn't you like that I can maybe move around, adjust, so that when I approach the next person, I can get closer to a yes, or to get you to a yes? Because just because they said no, they might not have really understood what you're offering, or maybe it wasn't delivered in a way that they see value.
Absolutely. And I absolutely love it. And it literally is simple, y'all. Have the audacity. Like, you're gonna always have something to say. People gonna always have their opinions. And, if you let those opinions literally define you, that's why, we was mentioning about that external. Like, you got to first build that self-worth within self, because I'm telling you, if you're looking for your family and your friends to be your first supporters, some people may have that, but not all people have that. So
Yeah.
you have to literally still believe, even if your family and friends aren't supporting you. And just being on the podcasting side, I've had people counsel, I've had people not show up. Imagine if I had to just quit in those moments, literally they would have defined me. So
Yeah.
other people define literally your mission and your purpose and your goals. So I'm totally in agreement with Ms. Love on that one. You got to have the audacity out here, especially when you're an entrepreneur. Now, speaking of the audacity, you have created the Audacity Code. So let's talk about that for a minute. What is that? And how did you translate something so personal into a structured offer for others?
So what I created the first and foremost, I love the word audacity because to me it sounds like a challenge. It's like if you hear somebody say, "Oh, she got the audacity to do X, Y, and Z," you like, yeah, she lost her mind, right? Maybe. But I feel like sis, all you need is just a little audacity to make things happen. And if you embolden yourself to do things, then you're going to see so many doors open that you never imagined. But I got that word audacity because of my personal experience of dealing with narcissistic people. I've met so many people. We even have several public figures who are narcissists. And they're successful, they're getting these key roles. Many of them are not even qualified, but they put themselves out there, they position themselves, they put themselves in the room so that they can have the opportunities and be successful. And I don't encourage anyone to be a narcissist, not at all. We have too many of those. But I've always had the phrase in my head, think like a narcissist, act like a decent human being, because they do have the audacity to go after what they want. So for me, this is a coaching program for women who are ready for more. I don't want to position myself as a therapist because I'm not trained. I don't pretend to be one. But I am somebody who have a lived experience of what life is like when it tears you down, when you've gone through, like I was a teen parent, like I said, I have financial issues, things of that nature. You go through these situations that make you feel like you're not worthy. And I feel like it's on us to restore that worthiness and to remind ourselves that we're worthy and do the work. But then once you're there, take it to the next level and have the audacity to go after what you want. And while you're going through it, check yourself and say, hey, am I fully showing up in my business in the way that I want to? Am I being the person that I said I was going to be? Like I ask myself, who do I want to show up as in my business? Because I think that's super important. But that's why the Audacity Code is important. I feel like women have, a lot of us, we have these false ceilings. So it's like somebody said we're not good enough. So we feel like we can only go this high, right? Somebody said we're not smart enough. So we can only do so much. But it is so important that we break through those false ceilings and restore our sense of self and our sense of worth.
Absolutely. And I absolutely love how you set up this framework because we hear it constantly. Women are only supposed to be in these roles, women are only supposed to be in those roles, or you should only reach this certain level within your career as a woman.
Yes.
And y'all, I'm telling y'all, we ain't living in them days. We ain't going back either, no matter what.
Mm-mm.
Like, we not
Mm-mm.
going back, baby. So I mean, you literally in these times right now gotta have the audacity. So if you sitting there in silence, or if you sitting there with your hands folded, thinking something gonna come to you, I'm here to tell you, sis, you're gonna have to get up and literally go out there and put yourself out there, because we living in them times of where women, we just got to have the audacity, because they literally trying to put us back into the 1800s, and we ain't going back, y'all. I'm telling you, we ain't going back that way. So now you did also say something which I absolutely love, because that's something too, that people are often, trying to do out here, which is fake it till they make it. And, you hit on, I don't perform for people. And I love that perspective. What is the actual cost of building a business from a place of pretending, in your opinion?
So I feel like if you quote unquote fake it until you make it, you're going to first and foremost attract the wrong audience. And I think some people, because the other way that we show our low self-worth is through people pleasing, they want to be for everybody, right? You can't be for everybody. When I decided to host my retreat, when I decided to build this business, I had the mindset like everybody, first of all, everybody is not invited into what I'm doing, because some people are not, everybody's not there because they believe in the vision. But also, and that sounds scary to some people, to be like, oh, you're not invited. Like, how do I even say that? But you don't have to say it. You show up authentically in a way that is true to you. And people who are for you, they are going to jump on. They're going to be like, hey, I'm with that girl. That sounds amazing. The people who are not, they might talk mess. They might hate whatever. They might not. They might like your stuff and scroll, or scroll and never like your stuff, But I feel like first and foremost, it's super important to make sure you attract the right people so that, you are building something genuine. Because if not, it's exhausting trying to perform for people, and nobody has time for that. and you will look up and you have built all these things based off of what you thought somebody wanted. And you'll find yourself slowly drifting in the angle that you did not want to, and a destination you didn't want to head towards. So it's super important to show up authentically, but also to know that people want you and what you have to offer. Like, this is John Tay's podcast, and what makes it special, there's over 1 million podcasts, is that you're on it, and your perspective and your way of delivering content and the way that you sound, you look, that's what makes it special. And that's the same with whoever's listening. Whatever they're doing, it's yours. It has your name on it. You put your stank on it, and people are going to show up. There's 1,000 types of cookies, but I guess I'm sure you have your favorite cookie, right? So your favorite pies, your favorite person who makes that cookie or pie, whatever it is, right? So it's super important that we don't forget that the way you show up, who you are, that is special too. You don't have to try to be like anybody else.
Absolutely. And I love how you said that, put some stank on it, y'all. So I use myself as an example, because a lot of people think, with me interviewing multiple industries and different types of industries, I accept anybody on my podcast. No, I don't. I've turned some people away. And I saw how, because I do research, and I do a background, well, not background checks. I do research all my guests, and see how they move, see how they consistent, see how they really mission and purpose driven women. And before I even set up the interview, so I am a person that goes through a process of how I get my guests on my podcast. And just to let y'all in on a little bit about how my systems work here at About Her Business. But yeah, I have denied women too, just because they're either inconsistent, or I'm literally seeing you saying that you're a woman's woman, but you don't hear literally cussing out every single woman that you are, you meet, and you don't like other women, stuff, or you're a person that's literally, focused on self, or not focused on supporting others. So I totally agree with what Miss Love said. Like, you literally got to stand on your own business and put your own stank on it. And that's literally just a little bit of how my podcast work, for everybody wondering out there. So yeah, you can be denied. So also, let's talk about, what does it practically look like for a woman to stop shrinking herself? Because that's another thing too that we do. We have these lights, and then we walk into the rooms with people, and our light is so bright that we start to shrink ourselves a little bit. So what does it look like for a woman to stop shrinking herself and start taking up space for her brand, her message, and her offers, in your opinion?
All right, I'm gonna pause on this real quick. I need to. Oh no, where is my phone? Got a notification my phone was down. I was like, oh no, don't do that. I need the internet. I need the internet. Okay. Which question are we on?
We're on number 8.
Number 8. All right.
Number 9, because I erased the first question, which is how you would like to introduce yourself. So we're on number 9. You
okay? On number 9.
Yeah, about shrinking herself, and start taking up space in her brand, messaging, and offers.
Okay.
So let me restart that one again for you. So let's talk about another thing that women go through. Men go through it as well. We have lights, and when we get in these rooms, especially these bigger rooms, and the light starts shining and everybody starts looking at us weird, so we try to start shrinking ourselves. So let's talk about shrinking ourselves for a minute. What does it practically look like for a woman to stop shrinking herself and start taking up space in her brand, in her messaging, and in her offers, in your opinion?
I feel like it looks like showing up authentically, charging what you're worth, seeking opportunities, challenging herself, whoever is listening to this, challenging yourself and holding yourself accountable, and also taking time to reevaluate each season. Like, have a quarterly meeting with yourself and ask yourself, like, hey, how did we do? Maybe even monthly? How did we do this month? Look at your numbers, whatever metrics that you're using to charge, but not being afraid to be bigger and better every opportunity that you can. And you're only going to get there if you keep practicing it. It's like a muscle. You have to work it, and you have to make sure that you're consistently showing up for yourself. And if you have to change something about the way you show up, maybe you're not normally a disciplined person, but you have to start practicing being disciplined, because that's what's going to get you there. you're going to have to switch some things up, boo boo. That's what you're going to have to do to get there. So, hey, make it happen. But when you believe that you're worthy, you're willing to make those adjustments. And when you look at those, you take that time to reflect. And when you look at those metrics, you're like, okay, this doesn't mean I'm not good enough. It means that I need to maybe go a little bit harder and maybe need to switch some things up. But if I keep working on it, believing in yourself, I am going to get there. And then think big. Have the audacity to think, okay, how can I really take this to the next level? We have so many resources in this day and age, and I feel like we don't take advantage of them enough. Take the time to learn your craft and invest in yourself and believe that you are deserving of all of these things. So I spend time, maybe like 30 minutes to an hour each day, learning about business because I'm a new business owner, right? Or learning about my craft, learning about self-worth, learning about what it takes to be successful, what it takes to grow an Instagram or YouTube or whatever. I take time to learn those things because I believe in me and I think I deserve it. And I want the woman that's listening to this to know that she deserves those things too.
Absolutely. And I love how you explain that being an entrepreneur is constantly learning, because a lot of people think when you done started a business, you have arrived. And, hey, you may have, but I'm here to tell you, a lot of things go out of season, trends change. And so, a conscious entrepreneur who wants that longevity knows you're going to forever be a lifelong learner. And, you're going to have those moments where you may have to rebrand or pivot and go another direction, and you won't necessarily know that unless you get out there and start learning those skills. And you hit on another great thing of building that self-worth, incorporating those what we like to call in the mental health field, those self-love moments of where you're getting out there and you're enjoying those moments. And for me, it's going to school, learning more things, reading books. Now for somebody else, it might be going get your nails did. That count too, sis.
Yeah.
But you have to get all that stuff, that self-love, you back into yourself. And what it does is it helps you build your confidence. It helps you keep going on those days where you may feel like you're burning out. So I love how you explain that to our audience, Miss Love, because you real deal have to invest in self and invest in your business too at the same time. Because I'm here to tell you, if you think you're going to arrive and it's going to last for 20 years, I'm telling you, trend thing flips upside down like it currently is. So just keeping it real, y'all. Now, we've been talking about Audacity the entire episode, and to a lot of people, that word can be very intimidating, especially to certain people. But however, we ain't gonna talk about that right now. how, how do you define it in a business context, and how can women begin applying it immediately, in your opinion?
I feel like when it comes to business, audacity is really, to me, it's kind of like being strategic and thinking outside the box and not thinking as somebody who has a little business. Oh, I just started my little business. You don't want nobody to say, oh, that's your little starter business. You have to think big and have the audacity to believe that you belong in, like I said, in certain spaces, but also what does it look like for your business to fully thrive? What is your your end goal? Like, what do you hope to achieve? And if you want X, Y, and Z, mapping out a plan to make it happen. And just like I want more visibility, my plan is to contact at least 5 to 10 people a week, right? And have an audacity to do that and do it over and over and hear no, or have something fail and not go the way I planned it. Just believing in yourself, but also just thinking strategically, thinking outside the box, networking with other people so that you can talk about your ideas and figure out, okay, how can I take it to the next level? I'm trying to help somebody. I don't do business strategy, but I'm trying to help somebody right now turn their business around. This person has a furniture store. And I'm like, here are ways that you can change this business to where you're making different levels of money. Because furniture is expensive. Maybe you can have a space where people can come in and have meetings. And while they're there, they're also seeing what you have to offer. Maybe you can partner with a certain group of individuals, like a book club or something. And if you have a cute little area that's set up, that would be great for them to come and host their book club. Maybe you can do something like that. Like in this economy, we have to think outside the box on not only how we can collaborate, but how we can get the visibility and the profit because really that's what we need, the profit, so that we can keep going, how we can make that happen. So I feel like a way that you can apply it immediately, map that out, come up with some check-in points. Okay, every month or every 2 months, I'm going to check in. I'm going to see how I'm doing, not feeling bad about what your numbers actually look like. They're here right now, but they are subject to change, especially as you do the work, but also being real with yourself and holding yourself accountable.
Absolutely. And, a little fun fact for people out there, a lot of your successful businesses that you see the first couple of years, and for some, for the first 5 years, they were just thankful that they broke even in what they.
True.
So before you sit up there and go, because you've been in business for a month, I ain't made $1, and so I'm a failure. I'm here to tell you, a lot of your major corporations and successful businesses out there, it literally took them 2, 3, 4, 5 years to get to where they are, and some 10. So just because you're not seeing the numbers that you prefer to see, that don't mean give up. Because if you keep up with the vision, and as Ms. Love been, kind of is telling y'all throughout today's episode, if you have the audacity to put yourself into places, I'm here to tell you, you eventually start to see those dreams come true. Because for me, when I originally started my businesses, it was one of those things of how I was going to market, how I was going to get out in media, and it literally took me starting the podcast and me literally collaborate, which is another thing you brought up as well, collaborating with other podcasters. And even your smaller, like, local areas, you don't have to necessarily go to CNN and Fox News and all that right off the bat. You can start off with your local news stations and putting yourself out there, or networking and collaborating with other podcasters if you're a media, or if you're a coach or anything like that, coming up with retreats and things like that, just to get you and your brand out there. So I love all those tips that Miss Love just gave, because I'm here to tell you, like, you got to have the audacity, y'all. Like, that's literally just gonna be our word for the day, because I'm telling you, you got to go get it, sis. So how did you go from having a message to actually monetizing it? And what were the first steps in turning your coaching into a sustainable business?
I feel like first you have to kind of know what you want, what you're really trying to deliver, because you can start just speaking and you might attract people. But for it to really be a business, you need to know, like, okay, what are my values? What's important to me? What are my goals? Who's my target audience? Like, do some of that work. For me, I was like, I don't even, but now we have we have so many different ways to figure out like who your target audience is. Like, you can some people are against AI, but if you're down with AI, you can use AI. If not, you can just do your research on other people who are doing. Whenever I decide I want to do something, I always go in, I go in depth. I do a lot of research. I join Facebook groups. I'm looking at people on Instagram. I'm like, okay, what are they doing? What can I learn from them? And then I decide, like, who do I want to show up as? Because that's super important too. And who do I want to attract? I teach self-worth. But at the same time, I don't want to attract women who are of a victim mindset and they just want to complain and they're not ready to move forward, because I'm not a therapist, y'all. That's the therapist job. I'm trying to attract people who are genuinely, like, they may be struggling in a few areas, but they genuinely are ready for more in life. And that's why I created the Audacity Code. But they also are ready for connection and sisterhood and hyping each other up and keeping it real with each other, showing up, taking care of their bodies, and not just physically, mentally, in all those ways. Because those are the type of women that I want to be in a circle with. Those are the type of women that I want to be able to lean on, or have lean on me, or collaborate with. So for me, it took like doing the research, and then also researching what is the income of the person that wants to do that. Because you don't want to start doing something and, like, you want to look at what other people are making. You don't want to start doing something, think, oh, I'm gonna be rich. And it ain't something where you getting rich quick, or you might not get rich at all. You might want to look at what's the profitability of it and what is the long-term sustainability of it. Because now we have so many things changing with AI and things of that nature. Like, is this business going to be able to last and grow? And what does it take for it to grow? How long? Like, realistically, know, what is a season of beginning look like? How long can that last? How can I speed that up? like maybe seeking more opportunities so you could speed that up a little bit so that you're not, just putting yourself out there and getting crickets. So I feel like you have to do your research for first and foremost.
Absolutely. And I agree with it. And, that's a great point about AI because when, you're starting off as a new entrepreneur, you may not necessarily have those funds in place to, pay a top marketing team to get you out.
Yeah.
So if you need to use AI to create you some graphics or flyers or whatever it is out there. Now, I'm not a fan of therapists using it to record or doctors using it to diagnose, but for graphics and pretty purposes, or if you want to create videos because you don't have the time to sit down and record those videos yourself, hey, make your little AI character and get it out there. But you hit on another great point of the difference, and y'all need to give her a doctorate for that, because there's a thing and big discrepancy right now going on between the difference between a life coach and a therapist, and she just told y'all. So if you still in that victim mindset, you need a therapist. And I'm gonna even go as far as to say, if you literally just want to stay in that victim mindset, reach out to a psychiatrist, because even that therapist is not gonna be able to bring you out of certain things because you're literally stuck there. But she just literally told y'all the difference between a therapist and a life coach. So if y'all needed some help on which one to decide between, Miss Love just gave you a perfect example. Like, if you still in that victim mindset, if you need somebody to, listen to your problems and help you sort through them, that's the route that you need to go. But if you ready to literally get yourself out there and you about your business, sis, call Miss Love. Leave that one at that one, because we can literally go on for days about that one, because I mean, it's a very, talked about topic right now, especially concerning a specific doctor. But we're gonna leave it at that. So let's talk about for the women. I want some advice from you. For the women who feel called to purpose-driven work but doubt themselves, what are the first revenue-generating moves you would tell them to focus on right now? So I want to get some advice from you right now. For women who may feel called to purpose-driven work but are currently doubting themselves, what are the first revenue generating moves you would tell them to focus on right now?
First, I would say, before we worry about revenue, if you feel called and you feel like you have a purpose to do something, like I keep saying, you have to like ground yourself in your beliefs. And I want you to stand on what you feel God gave you and the vision that he gave you and what you're building. And I want you to decide that, hey, I am going to go all in on this. Because before you start looking for profits, you have to believe in yourself if you want other people to believe in you. You have to invest in yourself if you want other people to invest in you. That is super important. And you don't want to get into a space of letting people tell you, like I said, you have to validate yourself. You don't want to get in a space where you're looking for that outside validation. So I want you to ground yourself in what you feel called to do. And if you feel grounded in that, the next step is to go after, what does it look like to make a business out of my gift? First and foremost, don't feel like you have to shrink your business or your gift or your pricing or your offering because it's helping someone, because you're being a service-based person. A lot of people are like, oh, I'd be okay if I didn't get paid for this, but we all have bills. We all have bills. And so if you decide you want to make it a business, I need you to go all in, sis. Decide that I am going to show up fully. I'm going to charge what I'm worth because I'm adding value to somebody's life and people are going to pay for it. Do the research. Don't just start something and think, well, because I'm passionate about it, it's going to be successful. There's a lot of really good businesses that weren't successful because they really didn't take their time and research the market, define who they're trying to sell to, but also take the time to scale, come up with a plan to scale. So maybe, yes, you want to be like, I'm trying to think of a famous life coach. It's escaping my brain. But yes, you might want to be like Tony Robbins or somebody like that. Tony Robbins had to start somewhere. He wasn't always offering coaching, retreats, having books, courses, all the things he had, virtual summits. He started somewhere. So that's the first thing I'm going to say. Don't be afraid to start small and scale up. Like, I always want you to think big, but have a plan, and don't let just like recently, I wanted to host. I decided, I was like, yeah, I'm doing this tour in different cities. I'm going to show up. And in my head, I'm like, oh, it's going to be these grand events. And I had the way that this is going to be successful is if I keep what's important in mind. What's important is connecting with women and offering opportunity for them to connect with other women and do it in a way that's healthy and engaging and that's going to transform lives. And it don't take much. You can show up in a coffee shop with a bunch of women and just have a conversation, and you're going to have an amazing experience and leave feeling connected. So you have to not be afraid, like know what it looks like to scale, but always have a plan to scale and make sure that you're following that plan. That's that check-in I'm talking about where am I at? Because if not, like, I don't know if y'all know anything about airplanes, but they have to specifically travel in a certain direction on certain coordinates. And once they get off of it, even slightly, they end up at a different destination. And if you want to make sure you arrive on target, you have to always be checking in.
Absolutely. And I love how she put that because, you have to start somewhere. And originally when I started my About Her Business podcast, it was one of those things of where I, had tried the market and saw the market. And sure enough, everybody was charging arms and legs for media attention. So I said, you know what, I can start my own media. And, I offered the opportunity to other women as well, which led me to my About Her Business virtual summit that's coming in August of this year. Y'all tickets
Yay.
out now on it. So head over there and buy your tickets. But that's a great point because you have to start somewhere, and you never know where it may lead you. And Tony Robbins was a great example of using, because he's going to do major retreats, and he started in virtual settings just like I have. So I mean, that's literally your vision eventually coming to life, but you literally have to start somewhere and just continue to build on it every single year or every month, or depending on the industry that you're in. You just have to start, literally just start anywhere. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to, have all your baskets in a row. You don't have to do it just like how somebody else did it. Do it your way. And I promise you, you're going to attract the people that are meant to come to you. And, you're going to eventually start seeing that vision come to life if you just stick with it. You got to stick with it, y'all, because we're not living in those times of what sustainability means. You got to just keep moving with everything, because, somebody that's famous today may not be famous tomorrow, y'all. So, I mean, we know celebrities are being made every single day with the advancement of social media. So your time coming, just hang in there.
Yeah, and I think you also have to trust in the vision that God gave you and know that it's yours, and know that, like, if he gave you the vision, he's going to give you provisions. You just have to be faithful and dutiful in what you're doing. And once you commit to that, there's no stopping you.
Absolutely. And if you ain't carrying faith with you, you might as well go and hang up now, because that's literally what we always about her business. We literally got to walk with faith, because that's literally what entrepreneurship, that's literally what life is, y'all. I mean, and in life, whether if you're a 9 to 5 or an entrepreneur, if you ain't got no faith, I'm here to tell you, baby, you're going to eventually get tired and burn out. And next thing you know, you're going to be giving up. So we just going to leave that again at that, y'all. So, building a brand, especially around self-worth, requires a lot of vulnerability. How do you balance being authentic while still protecting your personal boundaries?
I feel like my goal is always to provide value. So when I think about like sharing my story, when I think about what I want to say to people, not only am I thinking about how my story can provide value, I'm like, what do they need from me in that moment? And I only want to give them the parts that they need, that I feel comfortable delivering, but also the parts that they need that's going to create value. Because when you make it all about yourself, you're not providing value. You're trauma dumping, or you're like oversharing, and that's never my goal. My goal is to say, hey, because there's a lot. I've been through so much. I feel like God's strongest soldier sometimes. There's a lot I could share with somebody, but I'm like, okay, is this adding value? And if it's not adding value, then I don't want to share it. I don't really have a lot that I don't mind sharing, because I feel like your story has the power to impact others, and it's so important to tell your story. But if I ever felt comfortable not saying it, I just won't say it. Or I might just like share it in a vague way, whatever makes me feel comfortable. But again, ultimately, the goal is to provide value.
Absolutely. And that's a great point to make, because, a lot of people are out here in trauma bonds And, eventually when you finally wake up, you go, well, life done did me wrong. When in reality, you was just out here trauma bonding when, purpose and trauma bonding is two different things, y'all. Like purpose is, you learning from those mistakes and literally now, the mission now is to help others come through what you've been through. So you're not necessarily focusing on yourself, but you're using yourself and what you've been through to help others. Where you're trauma bonding, yeah, let's come in here and let me tell you my story, baby. Then you tell me your story too. And now here we are literally just stuck in the story with no solution. And so
Yeah.
that's a lot of, what you're seeing out here, in certain spaces where, everybody's putting their story out there, but where we going with it? What's the purpose? What's the mission? What's the solution? And that's how you can know if you're in a trauma bond relationship or if you're in a purpose driven relationship, y'all. And again, I have been in those myself and I had to learn the difference. So I'm just telling you what I know, and I'm not perfect still, but that's just what I'm about here on my podcast, literally helping others learn from my personal mistakes. So if anybody ever want to know what a trauma bond relationship versus a purpose driven relationship look like, I just gave it to you. And that's just my personal experience, y'all.
I'd never let my kids watch that show because I was a teen mom. I had both of my older girls when I was a junior and senior in high school. And I never let them watch that show because I feel like, yes, they're showing the story, but they're not teaching the lessons. Like, why is this not a path that you want to go through? What can this bring about? How can this affect your life? And I think it's super important that people get the lessons. The story is also important. Don't get me wrong, I love storytelling, but I think it's super important to also focus on the lesson because that's what's going to grow people. That might make somebody turn their life around because they're like, hey, I went through this and I want to make sure that you don't go through this. You don't go, even girls who are women who were teen moms or anyone who's a teen mom now, I would talk to them if they wanted to talk to me. And I'm going to say, hey, here's what I went through and here's what I think you should do because there's things I learned along the way. And that's where the real value is in those lessons, because those are the lessons you only get through the experience. Absolutely. You only get it through the tests, through, so that's where the gold is.
And that's literally y'all where the PhD, the master's degree, the bachelor's degree can't teach you. Like you if I mean, because you can go to school and learn about all that. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to connection and being authentic with your community, it's life experiences that people are looking for. And yeah, if you don't go out there and experience anything in life, or if you're fearful of failure, how are you going to be able to help someone else? And, that's a great point because, we look at failure and, I constantly use this quote and I heard it in one of my Bible study groups. And failure is literally not what you've done. It's what you're fearful of doing. And so, if you never get out there and go and try something, that's failure. You failed yourself, honestly. Now, again, we could talk about that all day, but for the sake of today's episode, I'm ready to get into this retreat. Let's get into this retreat that you're building. Can you let our audience know the name of the retreat and what it's all going to entail? And again, when is it?
All right, so it's the Girl You Are Worthy Luxury Retreat. It's basically a wellness retreat with an opportunity to also, if you want to do a service project tagged on at the end. But basically, I built this retreat because I understand the power of rest and connection. And those are the women that I know I am going to myself want much value out of this experience because not only are we going to be doing daily wellness activations like yoga, mindfulness, things of that nature. We're going on excursions. Everything is all included. The food, the travel, the transportation, everything is all included. So literally you book your ticket, get you some travel insurance, and just show up and have a good time. So we're going to do excursions, wellness activations. I'm teaching the Audacity Code. I'm doing master classes on that with the opportunity to also purchase coaching if you want to do that for before, during, or after the retreat. And we're basically just going to have a good time because I love to be a better person and work on myself. That is something I'm passionate about. I love helping others. But ultimately, I want to have a good time and I want to connect with like-minded people because that's where you really get the value. In March, I actually went out in January 1st. Let me tell y'all, January 1st, last year I went to Peru and I was with my friends. and they wanted to talk about goal setting on vacation. I don't normally do that. I do that at home all the time. But we were talking about that and we're like, yeah, I would love to host a retreat one day. And then locations like, oh, this looks nice. I should just inquire about it. Let me just ask, see if this would be a good idea. Just to see like what it would cost, what it would be like. And I get on the phone and everything just aligned. Because when God gave you a vision, things just fall in place. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes you test it. Okay, can't don't fail the test. But most times when he gives you a vision, things align. I was like, I'm doing this. I'm doing this. January 1st, 2026. I put down the deposit and decided that I'm hosting a retreat. Got on the phone, started coming up with a plan to make it happen. And in March, I went to a what they call fam camp. It's basically a retreat for retreat hosts, hosting a retreat at that location. And I got connected with so many wonderful people who are all providing services either through holistic wellness, yoga, so many amazing people. And it was so energizing and powerful to be in that environment that it fueled everything I do. Everything I'm doing now is probably part of the reason why I'm like even more putting myself out there, because I'm like, wow, there are other people out there who are just as passionate that I can connect with, who understand me, who get me. And that is so valuable because so many in this world, so many people feel disconnected. They feel like it's hard for them to meet other people who are genuinely happy for them, who's going to tell them the truth about themselves, who they can have honest, real conversations about, who are goal driven, who want something in life. And I think it's so important that we get connected with the right people, because the people in your circle can determine your trajectory in life, in business, and anything that you're doing. So for me, I'm super passionate about this retreat. I can't wait to host it. I can't wait to hold space for the women who are going to feel called to go to the retreat. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the impact that it makes in their life. We're going to make time for rest, because I think rest is equally important to journal. I can't wait to give them their swag bags, because I'm doing some swag bags for all the women to make sure that they have all their little girl, you are worthy merch, robes, things of that nature. So we're going to have a good time. I love to have a good time, girl. I'm going to tell you that right now. But we also are going to leave transformed. I've been like kind of stuck on like, maybe I should have called it Tulum and transformation, because we definitely are going to enjoy Tulum and we're going to get some transformation.
Absolutely. And she just told y'all where it's at. So if y'all ready, and let everybody know when it's taking place again.
So it's going to be October 13th through 17th, 2027, Tulum, Mexico. The property, I did a full property buyout. So it's just going to be, like I said, everything included, meals, travel. You got to bring you some pocket money in case you want to shop, do something else for yourself. But your food, your traveling, everything's included. So it's going to be a good time. You just show up, be ready to connect, to rest, to be transformed, and to have a good time.
Absolutely. And y'all, it's in 2027, so you got time to save up you some pocketbook money. You got some time to save up to buy your ticket. So I'm here to tell y'all, like, the retreats that are being held now, that's literally another place for people to network. That's another safe space.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're looking for a sisterhood, or if you're looking for, networking, or you just want to be in the room with some great people, that's a great retreat to attend, y'all. And she literally giving y'all time to get there. So, I mean, think about it, sis. You going.
And the other thing is, it's a good opportunity to pour into yourself, because so many women don't take the time to pour into themselves and reinvest in themselves. We're always giving to everybody else, making sure everybody else is okay. But who's making sure you're okay, sis? You got to take care of yourself. So it's an opportunity to do that. And the other thing is, I am offering payment plans if somebody wants to do a payment plan or Klarna, anything like that, we can make it happen, because I feel like it's super important. Like I said, if you don't invest in yourself, how do you expect other people to invest in you? If you like, after attending that retreat that I went to, I've decided that I'm going to attend a retreat every year, because it was that rewarding to go there and connect with like-minded people. So I highly recommend it. And I hope if you feel called, you don't hesitate, because I don't want spaces to run out, because once they run out, they run out. I will be hosting other retreats after this one, but don't hesitate. If you feel called, you have to act on it, have the audacity to act on it, and know that you deserve rest, connection, you deserve to be poured into, you deserve to have a good time. You are deserving of this whole experience. It's going to be everything you wanted and more.
Absolutely. And y'all, she just told you she taking payment plans. So head on over there and get your ticket, sis, because I'm telling you, it's gonna be a great retreat. Now we're getting closer to the end of today's episode, and I have a couple of more questions for you. Let's talk about mindset shifts. What has been one of the biggest mindset shifts you had to make as a founder that had nothing to do with strategy and everything to do with your identity?
Well, the first thing I had to do is ask myself, like, who do I want to show up as? Because I positions their kid for success because, as parents, we always try to give our kids what we feel like we didn't have. So I also feel like at work, we know who we want to be. For me, I'm like, okay, this is my work that God gave me. And when I think about who I want to show up as, I think I want to be reliable. I want to be trustworthy. I want to be genuine, authentic. I want to be that person that people look at and they're like, okay, I can call on her if I need her. If I ever feel like I'm questioning myself, this is somebody who knows what they're talking about, who's done the work in themselves, but also research. And if you don't know who you are in your business, it might be why everything feels misaligned. Because first and foremost, you take you into every part of your business and you need to know, what do I value? Like, I sat down and made brand values for my business based off my own personal values, but also where I see things going. So legacy is a part of my brand values, sisterhood, audacity, worthiness, all those things are part of my brand values because it is a part of who I am as a person and how I want to show up. So the other part of that is it requires you to work on yourself. Because when you think of, okay, here's the type of person I want to be seen as, you might be real. You might not all the way always be reliable. You might have some character flaws you need to work on so that you could be more trustworthy or whatever it is that you need to work on. But it's caused me to, I feel like building a business causes you to stretch and to learn and to change and to alter who you are in ways that you never imagined. And it grows you into such an amazing person.
Absolutely. And that is one of the biggest things in being an entrepreneur. You like, if you don't work on yourself, I'm telling you, like, it's gonna be tough. It's really gonna be tough, y'all. And whether if that's low confidence and not feeling worthy, whether if that's having those messy traits and still hanging around the wrong, because that can cause your business as well. You can attract the wrong people, as we've talked about throughout today's episode. It's your attitude. If you're walking around with a stank attitude and addressing everybody,
Yep.
and things like that, that can affect your business and attract the wrong people too. So, I mean, and those are just things I had to work on myself. So, I'm not telling you something I don't know. I'm just telling
Okay.
you. So, you real deal got to check yourself. In other words, like, if you gonna do this and you gonna be successful, you real deal got to check yourself, and you got to leave your old self at the door. Is what we like to say in the mental health field. You got the real deal, step into that new you and trust that new you that is you're becoming. And it's not, as we've said again, it's not an overnight thing. It's a constant thing. You're constantly growing, and you'll probably say you're going to forever be growing. And that's a great thing because, different things for different seasons, different people for different reasons. So, I just honestly thank you again, Miss Love, for handing on that, because a lot of people don't think that they got to change themselves in order to become successful as an entrepreneur. But I'm here to tell y'all, you can't really take those old traits with you.
Yeah, because you're putting yourself in front of more people, more and more people. And it's just like if you ever think of anybody who you thought, like we kind of talked about somebody earlier, we ain't gonna say no names, but you ever thought somebody was so amazing until you learned something about their character. And you're like, what, this person was my hero. I used to love Hulk Hogan. That was my favorite when I was a little kid. He was my favorite wrestler, like absolute favorite. I even had to like, dang, okay, so I ain't riding that wave no more because it doesn't reflect my values, right? So I feel like you have to make sure that you are who you say you are. And if you're like, if I said, oh, you should do self-worth, believe in yourself, and I didn't practice that myself, you'd be like, oh, she a hypocrite. I ain't listening to nothing that girl got to say, right? Like, and let me tell you, you will be tested along that journey. You will be tested. And whether or not you pass the test is based off the real work that you did to get yourself to where you said you wanted to be.
Absolutely. And I love how she put that. And, sadly, we've come to the end of today's episode. But as, Miss Love just mentioned that word legacy, we always leave with a legacy on About Her Business. And I'll give you a couple of minutes to think about this. When we think back to your legacy, what do you want us to remember?
So, like I said, legacy is a part of my brand pillars because I'm all about honoring the women of the past, present, and future. I want everything I do to either impact somebody or honor people that have gone along the way, or even honor who we are presently, because even just to be where I am, even for you to be where you are right now, it took work. And I think it's important to honor where we are in this moment. And so for me, I want to be a person who honors people. I want to be a person who connects people, who help people to see things in themselves that they might not have otherwise seen. I want to be a person who encourages people to go forth and pursue what they're passionate about, because it's something about taking the first step. Like, my kids are watching me build Grow You're Worthy. I have 3 daughters who are watching me build a sisterhood, and that encourages them to go forth and be even more. I want them to be better than me in every way, so it encourages them to say, hey, if my mom can do this, I can do it. I watched my sister build a business, she manages apartment complexes, raise her kids. She does so many things, and always is like working super hard, and that encourages me. So I feel like when it comes to my legacy, I want this to go forward in 10x into whatever people are passionate about. I just want them to be encouraged to say, okay, if she can do that, if she was a teen mom, if she dealt with all these challenges in life, and we all still are dealing with challenges, and she can do this, I can do it too. Because belief in yourself is contagious, audacity is contagious, and it has the power to change generations. So imagine if you decide today that I am worthy, I am deserving, I am going after what I feel like God called me to do. It's just like when my grandma decided to go to church. None of us in the house was going to church. Now, my daughter last Sunday told me, Mom, get up, we're going to church. We're going to be late. That's a legacy, right? So I just want everything that I'm saying, I just want it to trickle down and to manifest in ways that I can never imagine, you can never imagine, just in ways that are just unremarkable.
Absolutely. And them grandmama prayers, where everybody like to call them grandmamas and granny prayers, is literally the gift that keeps on giving. Is literally what keep generations running. And I just love that how you said that. Grandmama started off in church, so it's like what I'm building now. I want my kids to look back, and I think about my daughter. I want her to be proud when she's looking up to mama. But again, like when it comes to our community and what we building with our community, it's still that same thing, the gift that keeps on giving, y'all. So that's a beautiful legacy to leave behind, Miss Love. And sadly, we've come to the end of today's episode. Let us know how we can find Girl You Are Worthy and how to sign up for your services, all your socials. Let us know all the details.
All right. So first and foremost, I'm pushing everybody to Instagram. My Instagram handle is Girl You Are Worthy. I also have a website. It's girlyouareworthy.com. I'm on Threads at Girl You Are Worthy. And if you want to sign up for the retreat, the link is also in my bio on my Instagram, but it's also on my website, girlyouareworthy.com.
Absolutely. And don't forget to let us know how we can sign up for the Audacity Code as well.
It's also on the website, girlyouareworthy.com. And I'm pretty sure it's linked in my bio on Instagram, but you can always DM me, girl. You could talk to me and I will tell you everything you need to know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I will be leaving all that information down in the description box below. Any final words before we adjourn today's meeting, Ms. Love?
No, I really just want to remind women, like, you are deserving of everything you say you want in life if you're willing to put in the work, not only inside yourself, but in the world, to create that motion that you want to see. it's not going to happen if you don't make it happen. God gave us the vision. It's up to us to do the work. So go do the work. You're worthy.
Absolutely. Have the audacity, y'all, in better words, like Miss Love always say, y'all. And with that, today, ladies, the meeting is now adjourned. Thanks again to self-worth coach and the founder of Girl You Are Worthy, Miss Ginca Love, for coming on and offering her insights. And you be sure to subscribe to About Her Business wherever you receive podcasts so you never miss whenever we upload. Also, leave me some comments down in that comment section on which industry you think I should interview next. Until next time, keep those goals tight, that circle tighter, and that bank account growing.